This is Seth Beamer, and you're listening to the Pivot Points Music Cast on Fader. Pivot Points dissects the lives of artists at their most crucial intersections, investigating the trials of this insane career and how they are overcome. These are the stories of the crossroads that, for better or worse, shape us all into the people, friends, and musicians we're meant to be. Today, I'm joined by Americana artist and longtime friend, Andy Sydow. Andy and I met in Colorado, and I'd be remiss not to mention that he was a big inspiration for me moving to Nashville. He's been here a bit longer than me, though, at this point, so I'm excited to talk about everything the city has offered him, where his career is now, and what's ahead of him. But first, let's listen to a song. Off his new record, Night Skin, this is Every Little Thing About Love. What's up, dude?
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on the pod, dude. I'll edit this so we don't sound like idiots, too, because I'm sure there'll be plenty of points.
But we are idiots.
Dude, talk to me about Every Little Thing About Love, because I looked up this song, and you looked it up right before we started, and it's blowing up. What's going on with this song, dude? What's different about this one?
Well, do you want the nerdy musical answer, or the other answer that I'm formulating in my head right now?
I want whatever answer you want to give me. But okay. I mean, because you were just surprised, like you were like, oh, the last time I saw it, it was, 10,000 less than it is now. So it's just like boom, 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 boom. What's going on?
It starts off with the chorus. It's less than 2.5 minutes long.
Okay.
So maybe there's something there, but I sort of have this theory about that song because I didn't know before the record came out that would be the song, and I just released like an acoustic version of it that's doing pretty well also.
Yeah.
So there's something about the song, I don't know, on a very small indie scale, we're talking about 50,000 plays, not 50 million, but
yeah.
There's in the chorus, will you show me every little thing about love? There's a measure of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, every little thing about 1. Uh-huh. So there's this, if I'd sang the song like this, will you show me every little thing about love?
Yeah.
I honestly think it kind of would have ruined the song. The breath between thing and love, will you show me every little thing about love?
Yeah.
It just like, I don't know
what it is. So you think that's what's hooking people?
I think people want something familiar, and we forget this as musicians. I forget this all the time, and I'm like, I'm bored of this. I want to make something different, right?
Sure.
But I think people want familiarity without even knowing it, but they also want to hear something that they haven't heard before at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder if in the story of how that extra beat ended up there, I won't bore you with, but I remember writing it when I finally got to that and thinking, oh, this makes the song feel good. Like it didn't feel good, and that extra beat made the song feel good when I let go of my music brain and just tried to feel it.
Is that what, like I was going to ask, how did this come about? How did you even think to do this?
Well, I was trying to write a song using the Fibonacci sequence.
What's that? I don't know if I know.
It's a sequence of numbers where one number plus the next number equals the next number. For instance, 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13.
Okay.
And I was taking composition classes and orchestration classes from Berklee Online.
Yeah.
And we were learning about horror films, and the teacher taught us about the Fibonacci sequence. And for an assignment, we had to use the Fibonacci sequence to rescore an old famous horror scene. I don't remember what the scene was.
Gotcha.
And I decided I wanted to use that for my measures. Like 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then start over. So I wanted my measure markings.
Yeah.
Instead of, if for a non-musician listening, most songs are in 4/4.
Yeah.
Da 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 3 4 1 2. Almost every song you listen to has 4 beats and a measure.
Totally.
I wanted to do something a little different. So I did that, and when I first started playing the song, somebody came up to me who was a nerdy scientist or something, and they said, you left the number 2 out of the Fibonacci sequence. And I went, oh crap. So,
And did you?
yeah.
Oh,
it was
my
right.
gosh.
So I went back to just playing the song in 4/4. And I realized if I went back to exactly how I was playing it before, though it wasn't the Fibonacci sequence, though I'd messed that up.
Yeah.
If I went exactly back to playing it that way, the only thing that's not 4/4 about it is one measure of 5. Will you show me 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
So I went back to that and it felt good.
Yeah.
Maybe, and that may have been a really weird, non-understandable answer to your question.
No, what a wild way to just like the form of a song or the morphing of like the life of a song and how you took some inspiration from something, tried to write a song with it, maybe didn't even do it the 100% correct way, went back to maybe the common 4/4 way, and now all of a sudden you're like, well, maybe I can add just a touch.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we're doing the Sidonacci version of this song.
Oh, Sidonacci. I like that.
Have you done this with any other song before? Or this is the only one? Or even like continued? Like, have you tried it again or?
No, but I ought to. I sort of just was like, oh, well, that's that. I ought to try it again.
You know what's funny though about that song? Sorry to interrupt, but just, maybe we were talking about maybe this is why people are attracted to this song. It's the familiar feeling, but it feels new. It has that new feeling. Because like for me, like I'm a musician. I didn't even pick up on that. It sounds like flowy. It flows.
It's exactly what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
I know a lot of our music friends. I mean, you want to do something that challenges you and piques your curiosity, right? Yeah. So how many friends do we have or peers that we know that do songs with wild time signatures?
Yeah.
But there's a really important element there where are you doing it just to do something complicated?
Yeah.
Just to challenge yourself, or is there a reason for it? And I think most of the time when I do something in a weird time signature, when I try that, most of the time it is for the wrong reason, or not necessarily the wrong reason, but it is just to do it.
Yeah.
But when I really love odd meters when they flow, when they're meant to be there.
Totally.
And the listener, that's a huge compliment that the listener doesn't even notice, especially a musician listener. I don't want you to.
Totally.
If you notice, I didn't do my job.
Well, I think it just is a testament to serving the music. Rather than serving your own practice, I guess. But.
Which is hard to do. I don't want to mistakenly say that I always serve the music. I try to always serve the music, but it's very challenging.
Yeah.
There's Instagram and all these things that are constantly want to rank you and tell you what you are and how big you are, whatever. And it becomes very hard at times it's very challenging to just serve the music.
Oh, dude, it's so hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
This song, Every Little Thing About Love, is a part of a bigger piece of your work, a new album called Night Skin, which I do want to get into and we'll talk about, and we'll listen to the title track on that record. But when did you write this one versus the others, and where did you place it in the track listing? And was that inspired by the order in which you wrote them, or talk to me a little bit about that?
The order of Every Little Thing in particular, or just the order in general?
I'm just wondering, like, when did you write that song, and how did you know it was going to make it on the record?
A lot of those songs that ended up on the record I wrote during COVID, 2020.
Oh, really?
Yes. And maybe I wrote it in 21. It either was in 20 or 21.
Okay.
The record was recorded in 2021, even though it just came out last year.
Totally, yeah.
So in some ways, it's funny. The songs feel like they were kind of old and overdone to me, and then I kind of put them away, and then the album came out, and they've been fresh again.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
But the way the order came about was, I made this record with my biggest musical influence growing up, Anders Osborne. He produced it. I learned a lot about guitar and songwriting from listening and being influenced by him. So when we finished the record, this record we made together, I said, "What order do you think they should be in?" And he said, "This order." And I said, "Great." You weren't going to have any pushback from me.
Really? And so he decided the order?
Yeah, he completely decided the order. And it's funny because I feel like most producers, I would have a back and forth conversation.
Yeah.
But because it was Anders,
Yeah, sure.
who's been
just
on
respect
that
him
pedestal
like hell,
for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, was there any other suggestions where you just decided, I'm not going to push back on that during the process? Or I'm sure it happened all the time.
Yeah. Well, the recording of Night Skin, which I think is the one you're about to play.
Yeah.
So we went in and recorded it, and I thought it sounded great. We recorded live. He made me do my vocals live too.
Yeah.
So it was me and him and a percussionist and a bass player sitting in a circle. We
Okay.
did do some overdubs, but the vocal, like he wanted this organic room feel.
Yeah.
And when my voice cracked and I didn't like it or whatever, he'd say, no, that was
He's like, no, that's part of it.
not at all in a lazy way. If something wasn't up to snuff, we fixed it.
Okay.
I feel like that's a common misconception that people are either quote unquote perfectionists in the studio or they're just let it ride.
Totally.
He
Yeah.
balanced the middle very well.
Okay.
Of we want to capture a specific moment and we acknowledge that if we made this record next week, it would sound completely different.
Okay.
But it has to be at a high level.
There's a level to it. Okay. Yeah.
So with that song in particular, Night Skin, we recorded it and I thought, man, that sounded great.
Yeah.
And he goes, I want to try something different. So on the next take, he's like on the ground with his electric guitar and he's almost like worshiping the sky.
Like on his back?
No, on his knees, but leaning back, and he's playing these just long notes and moving as he's playing.
Oh man!
And there's this weird tremolo, and I know I used the Strymon Deco pedal, and he used the tremolo pedal,
Yeah.
and he's messing with the tremolo.
Yeah.
And he just did that the whole song. And while we were recording it, I was like, I'm glad we're trying this, but this is whack. Like the last take was it.
Yep. Yep.
And I remember the whole take just being like, this isn't this. What are we doing right now?
Yeah.
We went into the control room and listened to it, and my hair stood up on end. I was like, that was so cool. And
Wow.
I'm so grateful that I just listened because I've been a producer and an artist with a producer.
Sure.
And the pushback is part of it. But if you're going to hire a producer, there's something to be said about you let go and listen to what they're hearing.
Yep. Yep.
And with him, for me, it was very easy to do that. And I was really glad I did.
That's cool, man. Randy and I, because Randy was on the show, Randall Kent, for those who listen, and he had something similar that we were talking about how, excuse me, about how when you work with a producer, like you're working with a team for a reason, right? And so it's like it's okay to give up a little bit of that. And you ideally are working with people who you feel comfortable doing that with. So
Yes.
That's really cool that he could be that for you. And I find that hilarious that that's just funny that he's like worshiping the sky and doing all this crazy stuff. And then you go and listen, and you're like, oh, I get it. It like took that for you.
Yeah. He was. I mean, there's something about working with people that are more experienced than you too. I mean, he's done thousands of more road miles than me, played in front of thousands more people, and he's I think like 20, 25 years older or something too.
Does he? I'm just curious. I was thinking about this when you were explaining like part of the process and how you guys did it live. Do you know this about him? Does he do records like that regularly, or do you know, is that part of his process usually?
I think that is a usual part of his process, and it shows in his recordings. But he's very maybe the word organic is overused in music, but he's very he's very organic. How he does things.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I think that leads us nicely into this. This is Night Skin. Anything else you want to tell us about this song? This is the title track of the record. So how did it become the title track? How did you know we're gonna name this album Night Skin? How did you know?
Well, I was thinking it would be a cool name. Yeah. I was trying to think of a theme, like maybe I would name it something Louisiana themed since we recorded it in Louisiana.
Okay.
Where Anders lives. And then I just started throwing different titles in there, song titles, and Night Skin sounded good to me. And my mom painted the album cover. You should look it up. Night Skin, the album cover. My mom painted it, and it's absolutely beautiful. And when I told her, she knew she was going to paint the cover. I'd already asked her, and I told her, I said, I'm thinking about calling it Night Skin. And she goes, I was looking at the track list and I thought, that's the one song I have no idea what I'm going to paint for it. And I said, great, let's definitely call it Night Skin.
Wow. So you gave her a challenge.
Yeah, and she knocked it out of the park.
Yeah,
it's gorgeous.
Mom was up for the challenge. It looks great. So, well, that's awesome, man. Let's go ahead and listen to it. This is Night Skin.
Grab your jacket, fix your hair.
I think that's funny too that you had already asked your mom before you knew what you wanted the album to be or what the title was to paint it. Why did you? So this is already preemptively, thought in your head. You're like, I want my mom to paint the record art. What inspired that? Why did you want your mom to do it?
Well, partly because she painted an album cover for a friend of mine, and I was a little bit jealous.
Oh, really? What's that? What did she do?
No, she painted something for Nick Clark, actually.
Oh, no way.
That didn't ever get pressed, not because of the artwork.
Yeah, sure.
But no, I just thought it'd be really cool to bring her in on the process. This record was so special. It was a full circle moment of, when I first watched Anders play, and I just kind of got immersed in his music and his catalog. And I was a teenager. I was just, it made a huge impression on me. Yeah. His songwriting, his guitar playing, it was a massive influence. And then, I love my parents and the influence that they've had on me and my whole family. And I just thought, well, that would be a really cool, I don't know, there'd just be a really cool full circle thing to kind of keep it in the fam.
It's cool that this record kind of seems like an homage to like just who you are, like centrally, that's very cool.
Yeah.
And probably the first time that you've done a record like that, where it's not, the record's not really necessarily about you. It's about the people that are around you, you know? So that's really cool.
Absolutely.
When did you start listening to Anders, man? Cause I'll be honest, I didn't even know about Anders until I met you. And then from there, I've learned since then that he's got just a cult following, this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's been doing it for years. And so what turned you on to Anders? Well,
I think probably the same thing that turned on a lot of people. His live show and his stage presence is, and that's something that people say all the time about every band you've ever seen, but it really is something special.
Okay.
From a musician who's been to hundreds of shows and played thousands of shows, his stage presence is special.
Where did you see him for the first time?
So my dad used to go to the Telluride Blues and Brews Festival.
Yeah.
For the guitar camp. The music was kind of an afterthought. He wanted to go play guitar and do the guitar camp, and then he'd poke in and see some music.
I don't think I ever knew that about your dad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, he plays guitar. Not so much these days, but but some, they're hanging up on the wall and stuff.
Very cool.
But one year I wanted to go. I was in high school at some point. In particular, because I had recently discovered Jackie Green, also a huge influence. I discovered him, listening to KBCO in high school and did a similar sort of thing where I just started listening to all of his music, and I saw that he was playing the festival, and I knew my dad was going to go, and I thought, oh, I'd love to go.
You're like, I'm getting in on this. Yeah.
Yeah. And Buddy Guy was going to be there, who was a big part of why I'm a musician, and Joe Cocker and all these artists.
Yeah.
So it was a good year to go. Anders was our break from the music, actually, because on Saturday of the festival every year, they have a grand beer tasting. I was not 21. My dad was very cool and let me participate in the grand beer tasting.
Ooh,
yes.
Nice.
So we had some beers. And when I say beers, all these breweries pour you like a 1 ounce, 2 ounce sample.
Yeah.
So I've probably had the equivalent of a beer and a half and whatever.
Yeah.
We went back to the tent and to take a nap, and this music starts playing, and I'm totally digging it.
Oh.
I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've heard all weekend.
No way.
And at a certain point, I start hearing this screaming coming from the stage, Charlie Parker, Charlie Parker. And like, what on earth is this? What on earth is this? It was like this gritty slide guitar blues rock.
Yeah.
And so I got out of the tent and walked up to the stage, and I see this guy with a jutted out beard who's throwing his legs way up in the air, dancing around stage.
Wow.
And it's just him and a sousaphone, not a bass, but a sousaphone.
What?
It's him and a sousaphone and a drummer. 3-piece band making this wall of sound with beautiful lyrics. I mean, there's no... And he was filling up so much space with his guitar, and he wasn't playing licks. He was playing his voice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I just went, oh my God, this is so cool. And of course, my dad eventually followed me up to make sure I wasn't getting into any trouble or, you know, throwing up my beer and a half.
Wow, though.
Yeah.
What a cool story of how you came to find out about this guy and his music, of just like, it just sounds so raw and just like, just magical. How magical as a kid to just hear from the tent that you're at this festival and you just hear this music. You just, it just came upon you and you go, I love this.
I miss that feeling. I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like I get knocked over the head by something less and less as I get older.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I remember the excitement of being a teenager when I knew I wanted to be a musician, when I knew I wanted to do that thing.
Yeah.
And discovering a new artist that was going to like open doors for me by listening to them and learning from them.
And you knew right away. You were like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the guy.
Yeah. And I think, I hate this, but I think now it's easy to be jaded about it. Like, oh yeah, he's good, but I can do that. Or what, you know.
Sure. No, you have opinions now.
It's hard. Yeah. It's harder. Yeah. It takes effort to appreciate, and it's very difficult to idolize.
Yeah. Well, you've heard it all now. You've heard the tropes. You've heard the cadences. You've heard the minor fours. You know, that's like, oh yeah, cool. Another minor 4 chord to end the song. Great.
Right.
You know, or another like little. It's always the same turnarounds. It's always the same lyrics. It's always the same. But to actually find something that like knocks you in your chest, you know, is hard.
Well, but I wish I wasn't that way. And I try hard not to be.
Yeah.
And I think I've gotten better at it the last couple of years, but I think it's just difficult as you get older and as a professional in the field.
Yeah.
To not even just that you've heard it before, because I don't even necessarily mean it like that, but just ego. Can my ego allow me to really enjoy something?
Do you think if you
in the field, you know,
if you were to leave music, I've actually thought about this. If you were to leave music, could you get more excited about other music?
If I left music, I'd be really upset that I left music. And I think I think it would be very hard for me to have a relationship with music. But if I was not a musician, if this had never happened, I think, I think absolutely. I think that's, I mean, if I were an architect and you were talking to me about who's the famous architect, Frank Lloyd Wright or whatever.
Couldn't tell you, but yeah.
You know, he made all this fancy stuff and I was telling you how amazing he was. I'd be like, his building, the stuff he built was impractical. They leak everywhere. Or, you know.
His buildings in '88. Those were the buildings, man. You know.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not meaning that in a way to put that architect down. I just mean that in a way of when you're a professional in the field, it's really easy to get jaded and it's more difficult to appreciate. But there still is so much beautiful art being made all the time.
Totally.
And it needs to be appreciated. That's on me, you know.
Yeah.
That's on all of us as we develop in our field. We still need to really appreciate other art.
Also though, it's not your job to be a fan. It's your job to be a musician. So, and I think about that a lot when other musicians invite me to their shows and want to sell a ticket. I'm just a ticket sale to them and I'm just like, okay. I'm not your fan, dude.
Well,
you know?
with my good friends.
Not that I'm not a fan of your music, but it's just, you know, like you shouldn't need my ticket to make or break your show, you know?
It's tricky. I have a few friends, you know, where I'm like, I'll always buy it. I'll always be a ticket sale.
Yep.
Like, let me know when you need the ticket sale. I got you. I don't know if I'll be at the show.
Yeah.
Because if you're gigging 4 or 5 nights a week,
it's hard.
I don't want to go out on Thursday. I want to stay home.
Sure. Well, and you've got a wife now, and you've got a house, and you're doing your thing. So, I want to get more into that and talking more about Nashville and how that's been for you. But let's listen to an Anders song first. Something that's like what's a song that's really been inspirational to you, or something that you'd love to listen to? What's one that you love?
Do you want to hear something recent and rockin', or do you want to hear more of a songwritery early influence one for me?
I want to hear the influence, because we just talked so much about what was that sound that hooked you.
Well, okay. Do Love Is Taking Its Toll.
Love Is Taking Its
Off
Toll.
the album American Patchwork.
Let's let you introduce. I'm going to have you introduce it.
Love is taking its toll.
So Nashville, man, let's talk about Nashville. And I could ask, what inspired the move? We all know what inspired the move. You're a musician. Of course you moved to Music City. But talk to me about that process. And was that a long process? Was this a long time coming? Or was it like, oh, I've reached a point in my career where now I finally want to go?
I think I'd always romanticized about it and been scared of it about it. You know,
Sure.
Probably since college. It's like, oh, everybody's doing the thing in Nashville. And I sort of had this rebellious, well, then I'm not going to go there. And at the same time, this feeling of being scared. Like I would go and it would be like the DMV where you just grab a number and sit down. And it can be that way. But yeah, it was, I don't know. It was a long time coming. We flirted with the possibility for a while, and I didn't know that I'd ever make the move. And then, I met Allie, and we got married, and it was like, well, we're not gonna have kids just yet. Let's. And I've been wanting to go, and I kind of just want to go try it. I've got wanderlust to live somewhere else. I've been in Colorado my whole life. Let's just. If we're going to go screw something up, let's go do it right now.
Yeah. Now's the perfect time, before you have kids, before you have the family, before you got more obligations. Like, yeah, go figure it out.
Yep.
And how's that been for you? Have you found that being here has elevated your career? Or maybe even not just that, but like, has it been the experience that you've wanted?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say there's been a couple big advantages, but I'll start out by saying too, that I don't think you have to be here. You know, because I chat with younger, musicians all the time, younger artists who are like, who say these very matter of fact things. Like if you want this, you have to do this.
Yeah.
That's absolutely not true. Especially in the age of the internet, you can blow up in Whitefish, Montana. You can make a living in Denver, Colorado. You can make a living in Cheyenne, Wyoming, whatever.
Yeah. Well, look at this has been coming up a lot on my stuff lately for some reason, but rich man north of Richmond.
Right.
Like he was in the middle of not West Virginia, but Western Virginia.
Yeah.
In the woods making videos, and then he blew up, so you could be, like you said, anywhere, but sorry, continue.
You could be anywhere. And I'm not saying that to the effect of, sit around and try to make a viral video, unless that's what you want to do, then great. But
sure.
Just in that, with having drive and loving it and being consistent and being good, you can make a living in this field from anywhere in the year 2025. And I think that that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nashville has done, I think, two really positive things for me. Number one, I'm constantly immersed in music. The friends of friends that you meet when you're going to a concert are engineers, or they work for Live Nation or whatever. It's not just musicians. There's just industry everywhere, and it's fun to be in that. It sort of feels like a playground in some ways, where it feels big but also very small, and everybody just wants to make cool stuff.
Yeah. Something I tell people, because, I came out, I'll just share this with the listeners, but I came out last summer to spend a long weekend with you. You invited me out, and we did a photo shoot in your garage, and we just invited some people from the community. And as I got to meet those people, and also just, peruse the town and get to see some things, when I went back, people would ask me about my experience just in that. And I would say, Nashville feels like and I still feel this way after being here now for a few months, but Nashville feels like a musical summer camp for adults.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
Like that's what it is. Yeah.
It's a cool spot, and being here helped me feel less intimidated by it. Right? Like it's not a DMV. People are everyone's just doing their thing.
Yeah.
You know, and if you want to come down here and get a publishing deal, sure, you do these certain steps, I guess, or whatever. But everyone's just out here doing their thing, and everybody kind of, you find your community and you lift each other up, and it's really cool. The other thing is tour proximity. It is so hard to tour out of Denver.
Yeah.
Because you're either flying or it's like 2 days to really start a tour.
Yeah.
And the weather in certain months in the surrounding states and Colorado can be questionable.
Yeah.
Touring out of Nashville has been amazing. I feel like you can drive a couple hours and be in a totally new city, a totally new market, and
yeah,
I'm not used to that.
Well,
So
and I
it's
feel
good.
like you've been touring a lot lately, or at least been doing like the weekend, one-offs and stuff too,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How did you start forming those relationships after being here, and how long did it take you to set up that kind of regiment?
I feel like I'm still just setting it up. We've been
Yeah.
here for little less than 2 years. So as I sit here and give advice about Nashville, I also realize that, ask somebody else, or ask somebody that's been here for 10 years. But
Yeah.
just my experience. I feel like I'm still setting it up, but I just am trying to, while I'm here, make as many connections in other markets as possible.
Yeah.
To kind of build the spider web, and I'm very fortunate to have a manager and booking agent too that help out,
Yeah.
and find stuff.
You're also you've always been the guy, like the connector. You've always been so sociable and known everyone. I feel like that's always been Andy Sydow. Andy knows them.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so that's cool, man. I want to hear about some of your experience recording here in Nashville, and it seems like maybe you've been doing some more of your own recording here, and you just put out this record called Night Skin, and now I see you trickling out singles from that same record, but the acoustic version.
Yeah,
Are these things that you did on your own here in Nashville?
I actually recorded those in a session back in Denver very soon after the album
Oh, really?
was recorded. We did it in one afternoon.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So no, but I do. But I have a song coming out this Thursday that was recorded at home, and I do a lot of home recording now. We've got a bigger space than we had in Denver, and I'm just very excited with the home studio situation.
Yeah.
Well,
you've got a good one too. It's like a big space.
It's on top of the garage,
Yeah.
and it's got the perfect like tilted in.
Oh, it's
walls.
the classic Nashville home studio, if you ask me.
Yes. Yeah, the top of the garage is there's all these they call them bonus rooms. So on a lot of houses down here, for whatever reason, that room on top of the garage is usually just one big area.
Yeah.
And that's where everyone puts their studio, and I'm no exception.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man.
But I'll record things at home and send them off to friends in town too. Like with this,
Oh, yeah?
this song that's coming out on Thursday, I recorded at home
Yeah.
and then sent it to my buddy Alex Johnson down the street,
Yeah.
and he put drums on it and sent it back.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of situations like that too around here.
That's so cool. And I'm sure it's funny. Nashville probably was the place where you'd, literally go to your buddy's house. And now we have the internet. We're just sending it back and forth. But like, there's still something about being here and like getting to talk to each other and meet up and
Well, it is really cool because I can actually go over to his house
Yeah.
and be like, hey, I'm going to, I'll bring you over a couple tacos and let's play through it or whatever. And it's people there are a lot of people that are producers that do it all, that have everything in their studio. I'm not one of them because I'm an artist first.
Sure.
Over an engineer producer, but I have the ability to do a few things very well, a couple things.
Yeah.
And when it's not one of those things, it's really easy to outsource to somebody literally down the street who, Alex, he does it all, but he really specializes in drums and percussion.
Yeah.
And whatever, you might send me something if you want a specific keyboard sound. I probably have it, but I'm not going to track your drums.
Have you done any of that for other artists while you're here, like recording keys or recording remotely for them?
Yeah. People send stuff over sometimes. I don't do a ton of it because I did I think 240 gigs last year. So I'm not. It's a lot of.
Damn, dude.
It's more. Yeah, it's a lot of playing.
Dang.
But I do get stuff sent to me, and I've like last week somebody came over, and I tracked some demos for them. You know, and so there's some of that, but it's kind of just a combination of whatever comes up to make it work.
Yeah, of course. Well, back to these acoustic songs, I would like to check out some of this. What's inspiring putting out? So it's obviously been a plan for a little bit because you recorded it so soon after the record. Had you always envisioned that? Like, I want to do the record and then I want to do an acoustic version of the record? Or like, what's the plan here?
Yeah, it came about because when Night Skin was finished, we still needed a couple little overdubs.
Okay.
Back in Colorado.
Yeah.
Anders had a couple overdubs to do in New Orleans. I had a couple overdubs to do in Denver. So I had to book a day. I didn't really have a home studio situation at this point. So I had to book a day to get some fiddle on one of the songs.
Gotcha.
And it happened very quickly, and we had the whole rest of the day. So I said, what if I record acoustic versions of a couple of these songs? And we ended up just doing the whole album again.
What if we just do a little bit of it and then boom, the whole record's done?
Yep.
That's so funny. And so from there, you were like, I'm going to start releasing these as singles, or was there ever a thought of like, we're just going to put it out as a record?
I might still, I don't know, but I've started doing singles because on Night Skin, I released every song as a single.
Gotcha.
And I mean, I don't know exactly what I think about that. It's maybe a little bit overdone. Maybe I should have done 5 singles instead of 9. But in this day and age where we're at, giving, for the sake of Spotify and streaming platforms, giving each song its own little moment to shine has definitely helped my streaming numbers.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Rather than having 1 or 2 singles and then putting out a 10-song album.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like an album these days is 8 songs and 2 bonus tracks,
Totally. Yeah, it is. Well, let's listen to one of these acoustic songs, man. What's maybe, are you still in the process of releasing some? You want to listen to one that's about to come out, or you want to listen to one that's already out?
What about the piano version of If I Grew a Violet?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, let's do that one.
This is If I Grew a Violet.
You'd ask for a rose.
Man, you've been all over with these songs because you did the normal record, you've got your acoustic versions, you have your string quartet versions. Like, what's going on? I mean,
well, the string quartet stuff has a couple songs from Night Skin, and it has a couple songs that are unreleased anywhere else, and it has a cover.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the big project right before Night Skin. Was I arranged a handful of my songs.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because some of those, like, we've already listened to, are on there. And right? Am I crazy?
Maybe
not, actually.
No.
Wow.
But we should end with one.
You want to end with one?
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to listen to your other one? Your other new one? I just wanted to bring it up real quick because I'd be remiss if I didn't. That's been such a big part of your most recent releases and everything you've been building with. And so I just wanted to bring it up, and it's...
Well, yeah, I have this weird other side. And I mentioned earlier that I went back to school and did these online classes and got a certificate in orchestration and film scoring. So I don't know. I've got this. I've always liked folk music and rock and roll and roots and blues, and I guess we just call that all Americana. I don't know what we're calling it, but I've always loved that stuff. But I've also always loved movie soundtracks and listen to a lot of that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to put the two worlds together.
Nice.
So it sounds totally different than me solo or me with a band.
Yeah.
But I did this record where I arranged a handful of songs, at first for a full orchestra, but then it was too expensive, so I cut it back
Yeah.
to a string quartet and a French horn.
Yeah.
And recorded it live, and I love how it turned out. And I've done it live a couple times where I hand sheet music to local musicians, and we play my songs with an orchestra.
And so you have some songs on this record that aren't even out yet. I mean, how did you choose these songs for this record, and when are we going to hear these songs that aren't out yet? In any other capacity, I suppose I should say.
Well, we may or we may not. I haven't decided yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
They might just be like, the things we need to hear. I might record it someday with the band, but also might just be an orchestra song. I don't know.
That's cool. Nice.
But it's just a different sound that I love.
Yeah.
And it's a totally arranging sort of feels like Sudoku. I know that there's only one right answer in Sudoku, and there's infinite right answers in music, but I just sort of, when you get it right, the puzzle,
Yeah.
when you get all the instruments in the right spot, it's a cool puzzle. And I chose the songs, basically just songs in my catalog that I thought would sound good
Yeah.
with that sort of treatment.
Has that world of arranging for strings and like arranging in this new way, has any of that transferred back into how you arrange and record yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has. I mean, okay, so when you're recording with a band,
Yeah.
I actually find this pretty interesting. When you're recording with a band, even though it's my project, I definitely give a certain amount of free rein to all the musicians.
Yeah.
I might look back at Calvin and be like, can you do like a boom chicka thing?
Okay.
But I can't play drums like he can. I've been trusting him to play drums.
Yeah.
So you play what you think sounds good on this, and if it's not working, we'll try something else.
Yeah.
So all the players sort of come up with their own parts in a rock band most of the time.
Sure.
With the orchestra thing, you're handing them sheet music.
Yeah.
So there's there is freedom, but it's in a different way.
Yeah.
There's no notation freedom, and the articulation is written and the dynamics are written. So I found myself with some of those songs writing counter lines, like counter melodies, because I had different parts to write for.
Sure.
And so then when I went back and started playing stuff with the band, I sort of started thinking that way a little bit more. Not at all taking charge of anyone else's parts, but just thinking in terms of,
Yeah.
oh, maybe there's a counter melody here. Maybe there's a violin here. Not actually a violin, but maybe there's
But what that role would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very interesting. Huh. I'll be interested to hear these new things coming out, whatever you continue on from, because I know Night Skin's kind of, that was recorded a bit ago, but now since you've done Night Skin, now since you've done the string quartet record, what else how is that going to influence your music, and what else is going to happen with that? It'll be interesting to hear. And
Time will tell.
Time will tell. You do have a song coming out this week. You keep on mentioning this Thursday.
Yes.
What's this song, and why is it coming out on a Thursday? Usually it's a Wednesday or a Friday, I feel like, for music these days.
Yeah. I'm usually a Friday guy.
Yeah.
I tried a Monday last week just for funsies.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But this song actually has a specific release date. It's Baseball Season Again is the name of the song.
Okay.
I'm a big baseball fan. I've seen a game at every big league ballpark.
Every single one?
Every single one. My dad, my brother, and I have done every ballpark.
Yeah.
And now on the road, I try to hit games when I can, minor league, major league.
Very cool.
So March 27th, which is a Thursday, is opening day for baseball. It's the first day of the regular season.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Reds, who are my favorite team, are the oldest team. They've been around since 1869.
Cool.
So they always, opening day is 2 days, but the Reds always play on opening day because they're the oldest It's like it's a long running tradition. You can't mess with that tradition.
Okay, very cool.
In fact, they used to be the very first game every year. Now they just always play on day one. But
okay.
It's anyway. Yeah, it's a baseball song.
That's cool. How did the Reds become your team?
Well, I grew up in Colorado, nowhere near Cincinnati.
Yeah. And I think I know this about you because I know you love them, and I just don't know why. I don't know the story.
Well, I also root for the Rockies, but I love the Reds because my dad grew up in this town called Jackson, Ohio, which I think is like 75 minutes maybe outside of Cincinnati, small town.
Okay.
And so he grew up, and when he was a teenager, it was the 70s, mid 70s, and the Reds were the best team in baseball. They were called the Big Red Machine.
Oh.
The Cincinnati Reds of the 1970s. Talk to any baseball fan about the Big Red Machine and they won't shut up.
And that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. So his home team was all the rage.
Yeah.
And he became a big fan through that, I guess, and then kind of passed it along to me. But I would say I'm a bigger fan now.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
A bigger fan than him even.
Yeah.
Will you pass it down to your kids?
I'm going to try.
Yeah. They better be Cincinnati Reds fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. Listen to this song. Is this song like, do you mention Cincinnati Reds in this song? Or is there any inspiration drawn from them, or?
There's a small nod to the Reds without saying the Reds. The end of the last verse is, "The lights shine down where the green grass grows, and the best team plays in Ohio since the year of 1869.
And that's them.
Yep.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Awesome, man. Well, let's go ahead and listen to it. It's baseball season again.
It's opening day in America. Grown-ups wear their jerseys all day long.
Dude, thank you so much for being a part of this today and coming over, and great and chatting with you. And I feel like I learned some new things about you today. We go back, but wow, I learned something new every time we chat. But today I learned a few new things. So,
well, thanks for taking the time. And you and I have been good buddies for a long time. Once bandmates.
Yeah.
And now we're content buddies.
Yes, we are.
And you've helped me out more than I could ever thank you for. With all the things you do, and
yeah.
Aside from being a great musician, songwriter, you're an expert videographer.
Yeah, well, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks. I shot this man's wedding for people who don't know. So, yeah.
That's right.
Well, awesome, man. Great hanging with you. And, yeah, we'll talk to you soon. That's all we got, folks. Thanks so much for listening to Pivot Points. You can listen to the Pivot Points Music Cast and more on the Fader app. My name's Seth Beamer, and I'll talk to you soon.